It's starting to get pretty chilly here where I'm from, which means of course we can start to pull out some of our darker fragrances, so stay tuned. Hey, what's going on? Hunter here and welcome back to my channel where I upload weekly fragrance content. So make sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss any future videos, and also be sure to check me out over on my Instagram page. But today I am bringing you another weekly fragrance rotation. This is a series that I do on a weekly consistent basis, at least try to. And if you aren't familiar with this series, I basically run down what fragrance I wore on each day, how many sprays, the kind of weather, and if that fragrance got any compliments or not. So let's not waste any time and get right into Sunday. So for Sunday, I kind of wanted to take a trip down memory lane, and the fragrance I wore on that day is actually the first fragrance I ever reviewed on my YouTube channel. You guys might know what it is if you've actually been following me for the last 3 years or so, and it is, of course, Christian Dior Homme 2020. Now, I remember when this fragrance first came out, it got so much hate because, of course, Dior removed the iris, which is known in the original Dior Homme. And to be honest with you, when I smelled this at the department store, I fell in love with it and bought a bottle immediately. And now when I smell it, it actually reminds me of the beginning of my entire kind of fragrance journey, my fragrance channel, etc. For that reason alone, this will always be sentimental to me. If you aren't familiar with this one, it is very, very woody, but it's actually coming from a synthetic molecule called ISOE Super. And it's so dominant, especially in the base of this, but it is very, very masculine smelling as well, which I like. And on that day, it was, like I said, in the mid 70s. I only did around 5 sprays of this one. Didn't do much on Sunday that I recall, so no compliments. Every time I wear this fragrance, it always puts a huge smile on my face and just reminds me of the past. All right, so heading into Monday, it was in the high 70s, kind of cloudy and gloomy outside. And I did pull out a clone of Abercrombie & Fitch's Fierce, which is very popular, or at least used to be. And this one is so good and very potent. It's coming from Dua. This is actually their Fierce Attar, which is even a step above the original Fierce by Dua. This stuff, when I tell you is strong, I mean it's very, very strong. Of course, when you think of Attars, you think of very highly concentrated, like little vials, and this definitely wears like an Attar. And on that day, I actually did do 6 sprays of Fierce Attar as well, which could definitely be overkill, but I did get a compliment from somebody I work with, like a coworker I would say, but me and him kind of have a bad past together, kind of gotten like an argument in the past as well. And I was actually behind him and he didn't see me. He's like, wow, somebody's cologne smells amazing. And I was kind of just like, thanks bro. And he like looked behind, like wasn't expecting it to be me. And I thought that was so funny. It was honestly kind of like an arrogant comment to make, but I just had to. Then also later on that evening, I was with this girl, and when we kind of like were together, she was like, wow, you smell like Hollister. And I thought that was funny as well because this obviously is Abercrombie & Fitch. Like when you used to walk in the stores back in the day, they actually would spray Fierce all over the clothes, and that's why the store just reeked of this fragrance, and it just like kind of like projected even outside of the store. I remember those days walking in the mall when I was like a teenager and stuff. So yeah, this does smell like obviously a Abercrombie Hollister kind of store from years and years ago, but it's so good. I actually really like the scent profile. I would say it's very aromatic. I think there's like this rosemary in here. Very masculine smelling as well. And just all in all, a huge compliment getter even to this day. I don't even think it really smells outdated or anything like that. I know the newer formulations of Fierce are completely different and watered down. So if you kind of want that vintage Fierce, absolutely check out Dua's and you will not be disappointed. For Tuesday, it was in the low 70s, also very cloudy and gloomy outside. And for some reason, I was in the mood for like a warm, spicy amber fragrance. And this is the first one that popped up in my mind from my collection. It's coming from Masque Milano. This is the iconic Tango, guys. And just look at that juice color inside. So ambery, so potent looking. And I just absolutely love this fragrance. And it's one of the most popular from Masque Milano for a very good reason. Especially if you kind of like those woody, spicy, golden amber fragrances, you absolutely must do yourself a favor and check this one out. I think it's also a little bit boozy as well, but on that day, I did my usual 6 sprays of Tango, no compliments. But honestly, the performance with this one is outstanding. It actually wears very like, I mean, I guess you could possibly say like sickeningly and cloying because of how strong it is, especially if you overdo it. Just keep that in mind if you actually do pick up a bottle of this. It can definitely become a little bit cloying on skin, at least, especially when your skin starts to heat up. This stuff just projects and everybody's gonna smell you around. And honestly, be careful as well because this is not a compliment magnet. hence no compliments on that day. But I would say if you like something like Maison Francis Kurkdjian's Grand Soir, which is a fantastic, like very smooth amber, you will absolutely appreciate Tango as well. So for Wednesday, it was also in the low 70s and cloudy yet again. And on that day, I was actually fasting, which means I didn't eat nothing for like 24 hours. And I almost thought about pulling out a gourmand fragrance, but I thought that would just be absolutely torture for myself, so I did not do that. Instead, I pulled out a masterpiece in my opinion, and it is by Kilian's Straight to Heaven. I love this fragrance. Probably my favorite from the house of By Kilian as well, because I'm a patchouli lover. Patchouli is probably my second favorite note of all time, and you get a heavy dose of it in here along with some boozy rum and things like that. Very woody as well. And it also has this very dusty dry fruit note that works seamlessly along with the patchouli in the base. And that's why it's an absolute masterpiece, 10 out of 10 fragrance in my personal opinion. I adore this. Even though one of my other favorite fragrances is Tiziano Terenzi's Urza, which is very similar, but it adds the note of oud. Both fantastic. And on that day, I did do 6 sprays of Straight to Heaven, and from my personal experience, I never really got the best performance out of it necessarily, even though on that day I did get a compliment from one of my coworkers. I kind of walked in front of her as she was walking by, and she's like, wow, whatever you're wearing smells amazing. And maybe like an hour or so after that, we came in contact again. She's like, yeah, whatever you got on smells like Middle Eastern. And I thought that was kind of like surprising that she knew like Middle Eastern fragrances or what Middle East fragrances would smell like, because it definitely kind of has that vibe, very earthy, of course, very woody, even though there's no oud in here. Yeah, very interesting to get a compliment with Straight to Heaven. Even though I love it, your typical kind of average person is not going to appreciate as much as like a fragrance enthusiast. All right, on Thursday, yet again, another low 70s, cloudy, dark, gloomy day outside. And I was in the mood for a beast mode fragrance, and this is one of the strongest within my entire collection, hands down. It's coming from Montal, which are of course known for beast mode fragrances, and this one is no joke, and it is Intense Blackout Oud. Now, we all know the original Blackout Oud as a nuclear fragrance. This one takes it up probably 2 notches. That's how strong this stuff is. Very potent if you want to like clear a room. Of course, the scent profile, it is your kind of typical rose oud combination. And this one though, kind of smells like a dead rose petal, very dusty, kind of waxy as well, which I'm honestly not sure where that waxiness is coming from. It might be from that rose. But what makes this one stand out as well is that very good earthy patchouli that you get in the base of this, which works perfect with the oud and rose. Honestly, I love the way Montal actually does their oud in their fragrances. They all smell very similar, kind of like a signature touch to their whole brand. And on that day, I did my typical 6 sprays of Intense Blackout Oud, and that definitely could be overkill for a lot of people. I got no compliments from this fragrance on that day either. But to be honest with you, this one is not a compliment magnet by any means. I mean, it's gonna take a very small kind of crowd of people to really enjoy this fragrance. Besides that though, everybody's gonna hate it. If you love those rose oud kind of combinations and you want something that would just blow out a room, absolutely get your hands on Intense Blackout Oud. So headed into Friday now, it was also in the low 70s, but it was a very sunny day outside, which was a nice kind of change up from the gloomy days in the past. And of course, I had to put a Louis Vuitton in this week, and of course, I put out one of my favorites, and it is Ombre Nomad. So this is also known as a rose oud combo fragrance as well, but believe it or not, I don't really get any rose at all in this whole scent profile. To me, it's this very kind of fruity, jammy raspberry note along with that very kind of nice, slightly earthy dark oud in the base. And the quality is just top tier, very smooth and well-rounded all together. And on that day, I did do 3 sprays of Ombre Nomad. Kind of kept it down a little bit. I don't recall doing much on Friday, to be honest. But when I walked up to my friend's collection on Friday, Ombre Nomad just stood out to me. I was like, yeah, I have to wear this one. It's been a few weeks or even maybe a few months since the last time I wore Ombre Nomad, and I missed it so much. Absolutely one of the best from Louis Vuitton by far. And of course, got no compliments on that day because I don't recall being around many people on Friday. But believe it or not, for a oud kind of dominant fragrance, I could see this one being slightly more crowd pleasing than your usual ouds because of how refined, smooth, and luxurious this fragrance comes across. So yeah, Jack Cavalier did a fantastic job with Ombre Nomad. So wrapping the week off on Saturday, it was in the low 70s, but another very bright sunny day outside. And remind you guys, the mornings are in the 40s, as you guys will see down below. Very chilly, cold, kind of brisk mornings. But on that day, I was in the mood for this fragrance for some reason. That fougere, honey, lightly spicy with a slight bright opening, and it is Xerjoff's Nexos. Probably my favorite from the house of Xerjoff by far. There's something so special about this fragrance that just makes me crave it all the time. I think it's that sweet honey along with the aromatic qualities. You have that slight citrus bright opening with a tobacco base. Just all those notes combined make an absolute masterpiece of a fragrance with Naxos. Now, on that day, I did do 6 sprays with this fragrance. Of course, this stuff is strong. And I was out shopping, running some errands, things like that. No compliments with Naxos, but man, in the past, while wearing this has got me a ton of attention. So if you love fougere aromatic fragrances, but you want it to have kind of a twist and maybe work better, of course, in the colder weather like fall and winter, do yourself a favor, get yourself a bottle of Naxos, or at least sample it, because before getting a bottle, I had a decant of this and I ran through it very, very quickly. But now, of course, have a full-size bottle in the collection, and we'll always have a bottle of this as well. But that's gonna do it for my weekly fragrance rotation. Let me know down below what kind of fragrance you guys have been pulling out for the week. I'm always curious. But besides that, leave a like, subscribe if you guys haven't already. And of course, I'll catch all of you guys back here in my next video. Take care, everybody.